Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Sean Yao.
The big stories tonight. At least 15 police officers are now in restricted custody after they were directly linked in the killing of several sabongeros. The DOJ is also assuring relatives of the disappeared the exhaustive search for their kin will begin soon.
On the defense, actress Gretchen Barretto denies any involvement in the disappearance of sabongeros after she was tagged as a suspect in the case. Meanwhile, Malacanang also defends its press secretary over a photograph showing him with one of the accused.
And last month's inflation edges up to 1.4 from 1.3%. While the inflation print remains modest, consumers are still feeling the pinch of higher prices.
Sobra po ako nabuhay ng loob. Dahil po sa akala ko nga po wala na kami pag-asa.
Hindi namin titigilan to. Talagang kailangan ng hustisya.
More developments in the still unfolding missing sabongeros case. Justice Secretary Boying Remulla reports that 15 cops have been held for their alleged involvement in the crimes. They also have leads as to where the bodies could be buried in Taal Lake. Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes with tonight's big story.
Relatives of the disappeared were early at the Department of Justice for a meeting with Secretary Boying Remulla and Assistant Secretary Eliseo Cruz. Their appeal that the search for several missing sabongeros is not another case of justice delayed, justice denied.
Medyo mabigat ang natin, kalaban, kaya sana naman po matulungan kami. Sobra po ako nabuhay ng loob. Dahil po sa akala ko nga po wala na kami pag-asa sa paghahanap sa kanila. Kaya nagpapasalamat po ako. Kahit paano po may nakonsensya na magsabi po ng totoo.
Secretary Remulla gave case updates to the victim's kin, including the DOJ's identification of 15 police officers who supposedly killed the sabongeros. The cops are now in restricted custody, their every move monitored.
They'll carry out ng executions. Under restricted duty na sila. They have to report already to officers para doon lang sila. Para hindi na sila makasakit.
In an interview with Radyo 5 anchor Ted Filon July 4th, the suspect who wants to turn state witness had more revelations and admissions. Julie Dondon Patidongan, alias Totoy, said he did not see the alleged killings firsthand. Patidongan admitted that he only saw the crimes through videos provided him by the executioners before he issued payment vouchers for each successful hit.
Pinusasan kasi nila yan. Nung nakita ko yung mga polis na yun, nakapusas yan. Tapos tinatalian ng tie wire sa leeg. Yung killing mo simple, dahan-dahan ginagarote nila hanggang sa lumabas yung dila at saka nakakahihi na yung tao. Then napatay na.
Patidongan is not sure where the victims were exactly buried, only that it's somewhere in Taal Lake, Batangas. But DOJ believes they have a lead now as to the location of the bodies. The department will ask the Japanese government for help in the search for the sabongeros.
I just signed a letter for the Japanese government asking for assistance para magkaroon tayo ng seabed, lake bed mapping at iba pa mga capabilities ng technology na kailangan natin para dapat dito kasi scientific ang approach . Hindi pwedeng chamba-chamba to. Scientific ang approach dito.
No date has been set yet for the search, but this is the Justice Chief's assurance to the lost sabongeros' relatives.
Hindi namin titigilan to. Talagang kailangan ng hustisya . Alam mo, ang kaluluwa natin bilang mga Pilipino nakataya rito. Dapat dito hindi tayo pumapayag na pera-pera lang ang naging Panginoon ng Pilipino.
The DOJ also believes alias Totoy is a credible witness. The agency will be assisting Patidongan via the Witness Protection Program.
Nandiyan ang WPP nakaalalay lang. But so far, the security is under General Torre, kay PNP Chief.
Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes, we are One News.
Actress and once e-sabong investor Gretchen Barretto has spoken up after being tagged as a suspect in the case of the missing sabongeros. Through her lawyer, Barretto decried the allegations as baseless. According to a statement released by attorney Alma Malyonga, whistleblower Julie Dondon Patidongan alias Totoy did not even personally see Barretto involved in any way to the case. He maliciously speculated Barretto's involvement simply by having ties with businessman Charlie Atong-ang. Barretto's camp also denied that she operated a sabungan or had any participation in e-sabong. The statement did admit that Barretto was an investor in the business. The statement also confirmed that there was an attempt to extort money from Barretto with an offer to exclude her from the list of suspects if she paid. Barretto, according to her lawyer, refused since she had done nothing wrong. Barretto has also expressed willingness to fully cooperate in the investigation.
Presidential Communications Office Secretary Jay Ruiz's name has also been dragged into the issue of missing sabongeros. A photo of Ruiz with a certain alias Brown is now circulating online. Brown is a suspect in the case of disappeared cockfight enthusiasts. The photo was taken from a content creator's social media account posted back in April 2024. Apparently, Ruiz and alias Brown were both invited to the content creator's birthday party. Ruiz did not deny the photo, but Palace Press Officer Claire Castro came to his defense.
Ang nakausap po natin mismo ay si Secretary J. Ruiz. At tinanong natin kung ano yung affair, kung saan siya naroroon at nakuhanan ng litrato. Ayon sa kanya, ito daw ay kaarawan ng isang social content creator, social media content creator. At kung siya man ay nakumbida, ito ay kanyang pinaunlakan. Pero kung sino man yung mga nakasama doon, na kinumbida nung nagse-celebrate ng birthday, hindi na po niya hawak yon.
Now, what's next for Gretchen Barretto in this case where she has also been tagged as a suspect? And joining us tonight is her lawyer, attorney Alma Malyonga of Sigyon Reyna, Montecillo and Ongsiaco Law Firm. Good evening and welcome to The Big Story, attorney.
Hi, hello ladies. Sis, Sean and Pauline, good evening.
Good evening. Well, our first question relates to new revelations made by Totoy, because your statement may have come ahead. He had spoken to Ted Filon this morning and claims to have witnessed a meeting where Miss Gretchen Barretto was present, where the killing of the so-called cheaters in Sabong were discussed to be killed because the business would suffer if they weren't going to send a strong message to these cheaters. Ano pong response ninyo, attorney?
My response is that first, it's so absurd. The fact of the matter is that Mr. Whistleblower has been embellishing his story. Remember when he first came out, it was very clear that his basis for speculating Miss Gretchen Barretto's participation is his suspicion that she must somehow be involved. She must, because she's so close to Mr. Atong-an, she must know something. If there were any such meetings that occurred, why wouldn't have said so in the beginning? In fact, he did not tag Miss Barretto as a mastermind. He named 3. He only said that, Miss Barretto must know something about this. She should know. She should be investigated and urged to say what she knows. Later on, he suddenly changed his mind. Now, naging mastermind na si Miss Gretchen Barretto. And he spoke of a certain meetings without elaboration. And then finally, this supposed bombshell of a news where supposedly Miss Barretto was in a meeting where discussions were had on the disappearances. It's so absurd. It's so ridiculous. It's not even logical. And it just proves that he's embellishing his stories, maybe because he's been advised by people or his advisors or even a lawyer that, it's not enough. What you've been saying is not enough. You have to say more. You have to invent more. And so it's pure invention. It's so clearly an invention. And by the way, Mr. Whistleblower, even your embellishment is not really very useful, because what you have to show is active participation in the commission of the crime, even if it's so ridiculous, but even if Miss Gretchen Barretto knew about it, she maybe agreed to cooperate. In that fantasy scenario, that would not even amount even to conspiracy. There needs to be an overt act showing that she committed something in furtherance of the crime and that she had an actual participation in the commission of the crime. So sorry. You can embellish some more, but what you're saying does not amount to any participation on the part of Miss Gretchen Barretto. So
Let's
sorry.
go into her involvement in the business. You do admit she's an investor. Does she belong to this supposed alpha group? What is this alpha group?
My understanding is that there are two groups. There's the alpha group, A group, and then there's also a B group. Two different kinds of investors. But I think the alpha group is one where you get more return for your investment. Miss Barreto knows that I think she became aware and came to know of the Mr. Whistleblower because she's also an investor. And they participated in events related to the cockfighting, to the sabong. As you know, Ms. Barreto has not been shy about her involvement in the sabong. She has been seen in videos, actually participating in the events. Merong mga okasyon where she released the cocks, just to grow interest in the business. That's her participation.
Well,
She does not.
strangely though,
Yes.
she disappeared from social media, took a low profile, and it coincided with the disappearance of the sabongeros. Was she
I'm so
concerned? Was
sorry.
it because she was concerned? Did she?
No, sorry. Oh, okay. Sige, sis. Please continue.
What was the reason for that? Or did she express any concern at all? This was 3-4 years ago. Being an investor in a business where your people disappear, it's bothersome.
Yes, I am not aware that Miss Barreto suddenly disappeared from
Took a
social
low
media.
profile, perhaps is the word I should have used.
All right. All I can say is that there were, in fact, investigations conducted some years back. In fact, this resulted in the submission and preparation of a report by the Senate. I think it was finalized in May of 2022. And there was a discussion on investigation on the disappearances. I understand that there were at least 3 hearings, exhaustive transcripts. And the conclusion there is that there's a need to investigate more. And no, nothing of the allegations of the sort that are being made now have been made. No? And there is certainly no evidence to show that Ms. Barreto was somehow linked to the disappearances. You know also, says, of course, that during those periods, there were also efforts already to try to declare isabong illegal, no, and to suspend. In fact, it was the operations were suspended sometime in 2022, and you can say perhaps that it's because of that controversy about the legality of the operation itself that maybe spurred Miss Barreto to take a more low profile, if that was in fact the case. But I can't confirm that. No?
Just to follow up, Attorney Malyonga, no, you mentioned already the Senate hearing that was conducted by the committee of Senator Bato. That was in 2022, right at the tail end of the Duterte administration. After that, the recommendation of the committee was to continue the investigation. Meron bang nag-reach out from the NBI or the PNP sa camp ninyo ni Ms. Gretchen Barretto to get more information or nada?
No, none. And maybe because, if you look at the Senate hearings, and I'm starting to take a look more closely at it, there's no indication of any involvement on the part of Ms. Barreto.
Right.
She's not involved in the operations at all.
So, Attorney, let's talk about the alleged extortion that took place. When did this exactly happen, and how did Julie Patidongan reach out to Ms. Barreto, and how much was he asking?
Okay. my understanding was that the effort was made not by Mr. Whistleblower, but through a certain Mr. Brown. I think he's the pseudonym of Alan Bantiles. And this effort came just days before Mr. Whistleblower came out in media to come out with his supposed explosive revelations. And the message to Ms. Barretto at the time was, Mr. Whistleblower is going to come out with something explosive. Why don't you call his wife? The wife, I think they're the same name, parang Julie rin. But anyway, he said, call the wife of Mr. Whistleblower. Try to make a deal so that your name will be excluded from the list. There were no further discussions on how much, because Ms. Barretto did not try to call the wife of Mr. Whistleblower. It stopped there. She had nothing to hide. What was she going to negotiate for? What was she going to pay anything for?
So is she
She had
going
no
to file a case against Totoy as well, like Mr. Atong Ang?
Alam mo, so many people have been asking me about that. Of course, it's always on the table. But one of the things that I did tell Gretchen was that it's so obvious, no? The case against you is so fabricated, it's so thin, napakanipis. It's nothing but malicious speculation, opinion, invention, fantasy, etc. The right-thinking people, if they really look at it, it's very obvious that it's false. Diba? It's fantasy.
Yes, attorney.
So yeah,
Yun nga pero pinangalanan siya by no less than DOJ Secretary Boying Remulla. How does Ms. Barretto feel about that, no? Having said what you just did, and pinangalanan sila mismo, specifically ni Mr. Atong Ang.
alam mo, actually, I was very concerned and was very frustrated last night when I read that bit of news that Secretary Remulla named Gretchen Barretto as a suspect. But upon further review of the material and what he actually said, what Secretary Remulla actually declared is, yes, of course, Ms. Barretto is a suspect because she was named by the whistleblower. What this means very clearly to me is that you can call anybody suspect. Anybody can be named by the whistleblower. And Mr. Remulla, Justice Secretary Remulla, would not, of course, being the responsible officer that he is, would not make a decision right then and there to say, oh, there's no basis for this. So I think she said Ms. Barretto is a suspect. Let's further investigate. We cannot drop the case against her because she was named. But we're so confident, as I said, that we rest, no? We trust that, in fact, what is going to take place is a thorough, objective assessment where sinabi rin ng Office of the President, they support the investigation, but warns that you need to have substantial evidence. Allegations are not evidence. Suspicion is not evidence, no? So if there is proof, then go ahead. No, but as of now, that's not the case. So I'm now comforted by the fact that when Justice Secretary Remulla says Ms. Barretto is considered a suspect, it just expresses the objective fact that she has been named by the whistleblower. Whether or not the allegations and accusations against her carry any weight is a totally different matter altogether.
On the other hand, on the other side of the coin, will she cooperate with the DOJ in its investigation? She would have some extensive knowledge, being an investor, being a member of the A group.
All right. If she is called, she will investigate. If she will be subject to investigation, of course, she will cooperate to the extent possible and in accordance with law, no? But just to remind you, Ms. Gretchen Barretto is just one of the investors, and I trust that part of the investigation will try to see the participation of many others, and I'm very, very sure that when that happens, what will turn out is the fact that the disappearances of the sabongeros have little to do with the investment. The investment does not mean that you have an interest in making the sabongeros disappear. There's no connection. In any event, to answer your questions,
There may
yes.
be no connection, but in the conduct of your business, if something this terrible is happening, and it is it's 34 supposedly the complaints that have been filed, but now the number has even reached over 100. As an investor, you should be concerned, would you not?
Yes. And I understand that Ms. Barretto did try to ask what this was all about. And she was told that it had nothing to do with the business and that this concerned perhaps some controversies between some of the bettors themselves who might have felt aggrieved by reports of the scam, no, the cheating.
She kept her investment. The investment is still there. It's not been withdrawn. Has she been? Did she
Divest?
get out of the
I have to ask her.
business?
No, I have to ask that because the fact of the matter is the operations have been suspended. I have not asked her what happens now, no, because for all intents and purposes, there is no e-sabong. You can.
Well,
So this
well,
was
I
since
am not.
2022.
I am not sure also about that because there are reports that e-sabong still continues from
Underground.
from underground from abroad, but the IP address is not in the Philippines, so it's skirting the law. So
I do not know if Miss Barretto is involved in that. I would be be surprised if she is.
Okay. Attorney, let's just go back and circle back to the beginning, no? Alias Totoy, and then we have alias Brown. Miss Gretchen Barretto, she knows these people. Parang. Di ba? But what is the nature
Yes.
of her...
kumpare ba ba niya si
Oo,
Totoy?
I'm not even comparo. You have to. This is. I'm not engaged in sabong, no. Hindi ko
Hindi,
ano eh.
kung
Parang hindi
ninang
ko
ba siya
kasi-
ng anak niya? I guess
No.
no, that's not.
What happened? What I understand is that between the
Sorry to
among
interrupt.
investors, meron silang parang social chat group. And mainly, the subject of the chats are about the schedules of the events, if you are participating in those events, if you are participating in derbies, if you have a cup which is going to compete in the derby, mga ganun. Mainly scheduling and keeping up to date about activities. What surprised me pala, I did not know this, was that the cockfighting, parang 23 and a half hours raw yan, halos the whole day.
Yes.
Continuously. And because Miss Barretto, as all the other investors were so interested in what was happening, they were there all the time. So of course you would meet people who are also investors. And I understand, as I said, that Mr. Whistleblower is also an investor. So he's part of the chat group that was devised for the purpose of updating all the investors about the events.
So he is an
That's it.
investor and not just a bodyguard, caretaker of the farm. And
That's what I
alalay.
understand.
So A
Yeah,
group
that's what
din
I-
siya, Miss Attorney?
Ang pagkakaintindi ko, yes, A and B.
A and B.
I might be wrong, no? I might be wrong because this was not so important for me, so I did not really confirm. But my understanding is that he is an investor. He himself said, I think that he is a millionaire or something because of his involvement in the business.
Attorney, what about the families of the victims? Did Ms. Barretto reach out to any of them? Because some families did say that when they lost their loved ones, Mr. Atong Ang reached out to them and offered help. Did Ms. Barretto also do the same or no?
I don't know if she did. All I know kasi is that Miss Barretto is also a very generous person. Merong foundation kasi yung Pitmaster, which gives donations, very generous amounts to various people. And si Miss Barretto herself has her own foundation going on. I will ask her if she has actually reached out or done anything, or even directly or indirectly. But I have to tell you, she is interested. She shares the desire that there is that the truth will come out, that there is a thorough investigation, that somehow there will be closure for the families. She wants justice to be served. But as I said, justice can only be served if the investigation proceeds on the basis of facts and evidence and not malicious speculation, because that will misdirect mawawala ng focus. That will divert the attention to what should really be taken care of.
And while the
So,
DOJ attorney has not actually reached out to your camp yet, or Ms. Gretchen Barretto's camp yet, in the event that they do you think she actually has anything substantial to contribute to the investigation?
based on what I know, I don't think so. Even Mr. Whistleblower, in his desperation to somehow link her, has not said so. He has not actually pinpointed to anything that she has actually done or that she has said. And even in those invented meetings where supposedly there was a voting made so ridiculous, he has not given any details.
There is another one, if I may interrupt, attorney, where
Yes, yes, please.
alias Totoy claimed to have been presenting a cell phone video of the execution of one of the missing persons, and Miss Barretto, Gretchen, was present when Atong Ang was watching the video.
Alam mo, napakadaling sabihin. What is his proof? And as I said, it's so, well, I feel sorry for Mr. Whistleblower. I suggest that he get advice of counsel. This is so very clear. The fact that Miss Barretto, to be clear, to be categorical, she knows nothing about this. Even if she did, even if she agreed to cooperate, which is not the case, that does not amount to any conspiracy, absent any overt acts on her part in actually carrying out the crime. So what is this? What is paninira lang, puri lang ito because at the end of the day, this will not amount to any violation of any crime, a conspiracy to commit any crime. There's nothing there. So what is this all about? It's to gather interest. And sa totohanan lang, ladies, no? I can understand. It makes no sense to mention Mr. X, who is an investor, as having participated in this. It makes no sense to, pinpoint to any other figures. But it makes sense to say Gretchen Barretto because the name itself creates interest. It's so unfortunate, and I'm offended, actually, by the insinuations that form the basis for Mr. Whistleblower's suppositions of participation on the part of Miss Barretto. Please tell the truth. Please consult a lawyer because all that you're saying is really just paninirang pure. It doesn't amount to any participation in the commission of a crime.
Attorney, what would trigger Ms. Barretto to finally file cases against alias Totoy? I'm sure there's a line that has to be crossed. Yes. What would it be?
Maybe we're nearing there. Dito na lang, Ms. Barretto is so, to be truthful, kayo ladies, no? If these baseless accusations are made against you and your name is, mudded up, and you would not be in a very good disposition, you would not be happy. So, Ms. Barretto right now is gathering her strength. I cannot say that she's happy, but I don't want to kasi I don't want to make people happy by saying, for those who don't like Ms. Barretto, I don't want to give them the comfort of knowing that somehow Ms. Barretto is affected, But you are correct. There is a line to be crossed. We are discussing that. In any event, I've also said this to some people, and I might admit, the claims and the allegations are so fanciful. You don't need to file a complaint to show that it is. But as I said, she has a right to do so. And maybe we'll get to there. sooner than later. Let's see.
All right. Well, we thank you so much for your time, Attorney Alma Malyonga, Legal Counsel to Gretchen Barretto.
We're just going to take a quick break, but coming up next, the Agriculture Department explores ways to keep pork and chicken prices stable after these products slightly pushed June inflation up. We'll be speaking to DA Assistant Secretary Arnel de Mesa when the big story returns. Keep it here.
The big story is back with Philippine inflation for June ticking up to 1.4% from 1.3% last month. But some consumers are not feeling the lower inflation print. Here's why.
Here at the Sampaloc Public Market, another morning of bargaining between vendors and consumers.
Ang Philippine Statistics Authority mag-uulat ng antas ng inflation.
Unknowns to many, over in Quezon City, the Philippine Statistics Authority came out with its June inflation data.
Ay bumilis sa antas na 1.4% nitong Hunyo 2025.
The result, among the slowest pace of rises since November 2019. At 1.4%, June's inflation is still below the Bangko Central's 2 to 4% target range for the year. The June result is also more than 2 times slower than the June 2024 3.7%, which means consumers should be able to buy more for less. Vendors and consumers here at the wet market do not feel this at all, according to One News mobile journalist Marymon Reyes.
Pinaka naobserbahan nila dito at naramdaman nila ay yung pagtaas nga ng presyo ng kanilang mga binibenta. Isang factor daw dito kasi ay yung sama ng panahon, lalong-lalo na at raw goods itong kanilang mga binibenta.
PJ Garcia of Grow Capital Partners acknowledges the disconnect and points to challenges in the Philippine economy.
There's been, I would say, a bit of some rough patch in the economy right now. We saw the first quarter GDP numbers, consumption was a tad lower than expected. Given that in May or in the second quarter we had actually election spending, there seems to be a consensus that the first quarter, or at least the first half of the year, was a bit more on the weak side compared to what economists and analysts were expecting.
A day before the June inflation result, Bangko Central Governor Eli Remolona told reporters there's room for more cuts because inflation is slow and economic growth is slowing. Still, he said interest rate cuts cannot compensate entirely for the slowdown in growth. As for investors, consumer-linked publicly listed companies are seen benefiting the most from benign inflation, says Angie Pasis of AIA Investment Management and Trust.
But if you look at the trajectory of the Philippines, it is actually stable. Real interest rates are high with inflation expectations going down and valuations are low. So we encourage them, when you see panic, when you see the screen red, that's actually an opportunity to pick up.
For now, vendors will have to make do with shrinking profit margins while consumers tighten their purse strings. Kathy Yang, reporting for One News.
The Agriculture Department is eyeing to boost pork and chicken supply, two commodities that contributed to the slight increase in June's inflation print. According to the PSA, or Philippine Statistics Authority, pork prices rose by 13% in June from the previous month, while chicken prices got more expensive by 10%. With this, the DA is looking into expanding pork and chicken supply as local output remains hounded by diseases such as the African swine fever. To ensure the affordability of imported goods, the DA will impose a maximum suggested retail price on pork in August and possibly on chicken in September. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel recently met as well with fish suppliers, urging them to sell products not endemic to the Philippines to provide more options for consumers. Meanwhile, the department touted its progress in lowering rice prices, saying that its initiatives have eased food costs for poor Filipinos.
What are the Agriculture Department's other plans to tame inflation and control the prices of goods in the market? We now speak to Assistant Secretary Arnel de Mesa. Good evening, ASEC, and welcome to the big story.
Good evening, everyone. Magandang gabi po sa lahat ng taga-subaybay.
Let's discuss rice prices first. They've been declining year on year. Good for consumers, but farmers have been complaining. How do you balance the two interests?
Yes. Actually, maganda yung naging inflation data. Year on year, bumaba siya ng negative 14.3%. At nakita naman natin yan dun sa mga presyo sa palengke. And at the same time, sinabayan pa natin ng mga programa kagaya ng MSRP and yung ating 20 pesos na bigas. So these things are working. Doon naman sa farmer side, kagaya nung na-announce ng ating Pangulo, pinapag-aralan ngayon yung pagtatakda ng floor price so that our farmers can be assured of stable income when harvest time comes.
So when do you see this happening? The setting of a floor price?
Ang instruction dyan is for the upcoming harvest season, this wet cropping season by September, October. Yun yung start natin dito. And then, actually, yung mga traders, they are complaining na yung reason ng dapat mababa yung farm gate because of the, what do you call this, yung 20 pesos na bigas. But it shouldn't be the case kasi yung bili ng NFA doon sa palay na ginagamit natin for this program ay binili ng NFA at 24 pesos. And this is subsidized. So hindi lang siya talaga 20 pesos. So that shouldn't be the reason for lowering the price ng pagbili ng traders sa farm gate.
Yusek, yung speaking of MSRP, no, nung May 15 na tinigil na po yung MSRP sa pork, pero mukhang ibabalik naman come August, which is next month. That was already in the plan. Tuloy pa rin ba? And at ano po yung magiging price? Is it safe na to give an estimate?
For August, for the maximum suggested retail price, that will be planned for imported pork. Kasi yung imported pork is relatively cheaper than the local pork. At para hindi siya mahila pataas kasi dumadami na yung imported pork sa mga palengke. So para masigurado natin that they will remain low, nasa mga 300 level. Compare ngayon, yung Kasim is at 380 and then yung lempo natin is selling at 440 pesos per kilo. So medyo mataas talaga ito ngayon.
Yung sa chicken naman, Yusek?
Yung sa chicken is being studied and we're planning to have a similar MSRP come September.
Okay. Asik, I wanted to talk about the plans of the DA in procuring corn, white and yellow corn in 2026. How effective is corn po ba as a substitute for rice para sa ating mga Pilipino?
Yung sa corn naman, yung substitute for sa rice, yung white corn, yung white corn.
Yung white corn, yan po yung uso sa Visayas, no, Yusek? Yung hinahalo sa bigas?
Yes, yung replacement sa talaga, talagang ginagamit talaga yan, yung mga corn grits na white corn, pampalit sa bigas. At yan talaga yung kinasanayan nila na kainin some parts of Visayas and Mindanao. Actually, nagkaroon din tayo ng similar program. Ang tawag natin rice corn blend. Pinapaghalo yung corn grits at saka yung rice natin.
And I believe, Asik, kailangan ang NFA, kumbaga, ang bibili nitong corn. How important is it for the DA to restore the powers of the National Food Authority?
Yes, meron ngayong proposed bill that's being sponsored by the Speaker himself, yung proposed rice bill. Very important ito dahil yung hinihiling namin maibalik yung original mandated function ng NFA for regulatory and for trade, yung sa market intervention. Kasi sa regulation, importante na matiyak natin na talagang maayos yung labeling, maayos yung tamang presyuhan, and dun sa market interventions para mas mabilis yung paglabas at at the same time, mas marami yung mabili ng NFA, mas mapaikot yung pondo niya. So mas maraming palay yung mabibili dahil nga mas mabilis yung pag-ikot. Hindi kagaya ngayon, it's very difficult to sell yung rice ng NFA dahil na rin sa limitation ng rice tariffication. But you can only sell it for calamity relief effort ng ating mga DSWD, OCD, and agencies like that.
Pero Yusek, huwag natin kakalimutan, may reason kung bakit sila tinanggalan ng mandato to begin with, no? So ano po yung makikita nating difference itong sa new bill to give them a fresh mandate again to regulate?
Yeah, that is correct naman. But if you look at the reason naman doon, nagkaroon ng mga problema, skandalo ng NFA during that time. Pero ang problema kasi is yung management. So, dapat ang papalitan mo yung nagmamanage para maayos. Hindi yung tatanggalin mo yung mandato ng NFA. And pag ganun, mas mahirapan yung sistema. With the correct people managing, plus yung power din ng NFA Council to monitor and to ensure na hindi na maulit yun, that will prevent yung mga hindi magagandang gawain. And under the mga na-imposed na mga policies ngayon, medyo mahirap nang gawin yung mga nangyari dati.
Like it was a source of major corruption.
Yes, during yung mga dati na panahon. At yun ay wala na. Kasi karamihan kasi ng source ng ganong problema is yung sa importation ng bigas at saka yung sa pagbenta. Ngayon naman kasi actually hindi na namin hinihiling yung importation except siguro for emergency situation. Our request focus only on the regulation and market intervention.
Speaking of that, no, kamusta na tayo dito sa mga middlemen/hoarders na matagal na nating inaabangan na may masugpo? Kamusta po yung efforts?
Lately, marami na kayong nahuhuling
Oo,
smugglers.
yung mga onions,
in
Subic,
Nagpapakitang
Baco.
gilas. Kayo sa DA, ASEC.
Yes, ladies. Actually, talagang kahit matindi na yung provision ng Anti-Agricultural Economic Sabotage Law for smugglers, hoarders, and profiteers, talagang malakas pa rin yung loob nila. Pero tuloy-tuloy yung ginagawang action ng ating pamahalaan, especially ng DA, ng Customs, saka ng iba pang ahensya. Sunod-sunod yung mga nagiging operation natin kung may nakakalusot man. Just recently, may pinahold si Secretary Kiko dito sa Port of Subic. About 59 containers yun. Allegedly, ganun pa rin, misdeclaration. And most likely, ang laman nito are onions and fish products pa rin.
Pero have you filed cases already?
Yun nga kasi, dagdagan ko lang no, before kayo sumagot, Asek, yung kasi, inabandona, nahanap niyo yung shipment, pero hindi niyo nahanap yung responsable kasi parang iniwan na lang nila doon. So, paano yun?
Yan nga.
Oo.
Yeah, actually, tuloy-tuloy ng investigation ngayon. Marami na actually na na-file na cases. And to start with, about 18 companies na yung na-blacklist last year. And tuloy-tuloy nga yung filing ng cases. At nasabi na rin ni Sec Kiko na he wanted to see talaga within the year, meron talaga na makulong dito. Actually, yung ibang cases talaga meron na mga na-arresto rin.
Okay. Last question, Asik, meron pa rin tayong ASF, no, sa hog industry. Syempre, narinig na natin yung mga vaccine, ganyan. Kamusta na po yung industriya, no, yung mga piggery, yung mga hogs natin, nag-improve na ba?
Sa ngayon, konti na lang yung barangays na may active cases. Nasa 32 na lang yan. Nag-peak yan third quarter last year to almost 600 barangays all over the country. So, nakasurvive, naaayos natin yung ganitong problema. Similarly with the avian influenza, ganun din. And hopefully we're in coordination with the FDA, ma-release na talaga yung commercial approval for both vaccines.
One last question, Asek, going back to rice. The President has said that we had a bumper harvest in 2023 or 2024. What is your projection for 2025?
Yeah, 2023 was the highest record natin at 20.06 million metric tons. This year, we're expecting about 20.4 million metric tons. And we're expecting then na bababa yung import level. In fact, for the first semester, January to June, the import level went down by almost 170,000 metric tons compared to the same period last year. So, yun yung expectation natin. Record harvest for, again, this year, 2025, and lower import level.
And you expect this to continue until the end of the President's term? I mean, what is your projection? Will we be able to achieve self-sufficiency, or is that a pipe dream?
We're not attaining, or we're not aiming for self-sufficiency kasi medyo patuloy yung paglaki ng population natin compared to sa productivity natin. But we're aiming na talagang pataasin. In fact, marami na mga areas yung gumagraduate sa 5 metric ton level of harvest per unit hectare. So paunti-unti, we're targeting na mas mapataas pa. Especially dun sa mga lugar na very limited yung irrigation, very limited yung paggamit ng high-yielding varieties and fertilizer. That's the focus ngayon ng ating Pangulo at ni Secretary Kiko na ma-improve talaga yung productivity, especially for areas na mababa ang level of productivity.
Yeah, even as some farmers are supposedly abandoning planting rice because it's no longer profitable.
In that cases, of course, hindi natin maiwasan yung iba, but marami pa rin yung based sa data ng PhilRice at saka ng iba pa natin na even the PSA, yung paglaki ng area hindi ganun, kumbaga lumalaki ng konti pa rin yung mga area na planted. Yung harvest area natin is at 4.1 million hectares. Compared sa ibang bansa, malaki pa rin tayo. So, ang kailangan lang mapataas kasi yung national average natin for production is at 4.12 metric tons per hectare. Compared to Indonesia at 5, at sa ibang bansa nasa 6. So, yun yung target talaga natin, mapataas yung unit harvest natin per hectare.
So, sorry, by 2028, how much reduction in imports are you seeing? Is the projection?
Medyo mahirap sagutin yun, Seth. Ang talagang target natin is, kasi based on data, pag lumalaki yung production mo, example 2023, we have a very good harvest of 20.06 million metric tons.
Yeah.
The importation ay nasa 3.6. Last year, medyo bumaba ng malaki, gawa ng El Nino, our import went up by 4.8 million metric tons. So this year, dahil mataas yung harvest natin, bumababa rin yung import. So ang strategy really is to make sure that our production will grow para bumaba talaga yung dependence natin on import.
Okay, kaya import na lang tayo ng corn.
Haluin sir, masarap talaga siya. Ako, gusto ko siya.
Actually, masarap nga.
Oo, type ko siya.
Dapat hindi pang Visayas lang.
Oo, yeah, pakalatin natin, pauso natin sa Luzon, no?
Oo nga.
Yes, yung rice corn blend.
Well, we thank you for your time, DA Assistant Secretary Arnel de Mesa.
We're going to be pausing for another quick break, but right after that, the Philippine Coast Guard spokesman sues a vlogger for cyber libel. The details on that big story next. Keep it here.
Welcome back to the big story. Philippine Coast Guard spokesman Commodore J. Tariela filed a cyber libel complaint against social media influencer Sas Sasot at the Manila City Prosecutor's Office. This is in connection with Sasot's posts from July to October of last year. One is about Tariela receiving a $4 million talent fee from the United States over a so-called Project Atlantis. Sasot also alleged that the PCG spokesman had accepted 3 black bags from House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Now, Tariela is asking 1.2 million pesos in damages from Sasot for linking him to bribery, corruption, dishonesty, and misconduct.
To set the record straight, hindi ko alam ang bahay ni Speaker at hindi ako pumunta sa bahay ni Speaker para kumuha ng mga bag ng pera. Secondly, wala akong talent fee from the US Embassy. I'm doing this as part of my patriotic duty pagtindig natin sa West Philippine Sea.
In response, Sasot said Tariela has all the right to file the case. The vlogger said she will answer the complaint as soon as she receives it, quote, where I live, which is outside the Philippines. Sasot has repeatedly posted since 2011 that she is based in the Netherlands.
And in other news, Senator Mig Zubiri confirms a new alliance in the Senate called the Veteran Bloc. It is made up of Zubiri himself, Senator Loren Legarda, and returning lawmakers Tito Soto and Ping Lacson. Zubiri says their bloc is open to all like-minded lawmakers who believe in an upper chamber that is a beacon of truth, fairness, and constitutional integrity. Zubiri went on to say the Senate should be fair to all and not just a few. For his part, former Senate President Tito Soto said their new group can also be called the Conscience Bloc, whose objective is to ensure clean, rules-based legislation and transparent fiscal policy.
All right, our big picture for tonight, the manga doomsday prediction that is spooking tourists that want to go to Japan. And we are talking about the sale banner beside the comic book titled The Future I Saw, first published back in 1999 by manga artist Ryo Tatsuki. It goes, whether you believe it or not is up to you. Well, the book has been causing a plunge in tourist arrivals in Japan. Its latest edition has predicted a catastrophic event occurring on July 5. Coincidentally, islands off the southern tip of Kyushu have been experiencing over 900 earthquakes the past 2 weeks, though we have to qualify that most of them are just small tremors. The book's track record is causing even more panic. Its first edition warned of a major natural disaster to occur by March 2011. And what happened that month? A massive earthquake followed by a tsunami, followed by the Fukushima nuclear disaster. But in a statement issued by her publisher, Tatsuki maintains she is no prophet. Wait,
Wow,
didn't
that's
know-
tomorrow.
Yeah. At least we're in the Philippines. But you know what? It's normal to experience a lot of tremors.
In Japan.
Yeah,
Even in the Philippines,
yes. Pacific Ring of Fire, and we're all members. If you follow Fivox on Twitter, naku.
Laging
Di ba? Laging meron.
Oo.
Patay mali siya lang tayo kasi weekend na.
Actually, yung mga small tremors na ganyan are actually good eh.
O talaga, gusto ko yan.
They release the tension.
Para hindi mag...
Oo, na one big,
Parang tao lang, no? Better talk about it, ganyan, kaysa yung hantayin mo, iipunin mo.
Oo, tama.
I saw that report on Frontline also earlier, Frontline Pilipinas. And what made it scary kasi malapit nga daw yung Pilipinas with that, what do you call that line? Or
You know, I
that's why the
remember-
tsunami could possibly reach us.
Remember that Fukushima?
Yes, I remember it.
Remember, we were even more panicked than
Japan.
Remember?
Kasi
People
hindi tayo
were buying
handa.
Merthiolate or something.
Because the
thinking that
tsunami
it was,
warning reached us di ba? Meron parang sa buong side na yun.
Pero
ng Pacific.
minsan mas panic pa tayo sa
mga Hapon.
kung saan nangyayari yung kaganapa, yung gulo.
Well, we
or-
survived a lot of predictions already, right? In 2012, they said it was the end of the world.
I
and we're
remember
still
there was
here.
an Iran-Iraq war so far from us. We were
hoarding.
Diba? Madrama tayo.
Emotional talaga mga Pilipino. OA tayo minsan.
Well, it's better to be prepared. So, as they say,
Anyway.
mga Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts na lang tayo.
Handayin na ang mga go bag this weekend. But which you should always have anyway, di ba?
Do you have one?
No. pero na weekend project, I know. It's always good advice, no?
True.
All right, but for this week and for this Friday, that's it for the big story. Thank you so much for watching.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
See you again on Monday at 7:30 p.m. Have a great weekend, everyone. Good night.
Coming up next, we have play-by-play as usual. We have Andre Felix and Cheska Litton Calao. Happy almost weekend to you guys.
My brain is close to shutting down already, but having a go bag ready is a great idea.
Diba? So may weekend
My go
activity
bag
ka na
is
rin.
my hiking bag.
I'm sure it's pretty complete.
It's I mean, it's pretty
Kompleto
complete for
yun.
survival. So,
Kompleto yun. Basta si Cheska yung kompleto.
Oo,
Pag
si
ako may
Cheska
go bag, baka hindi kompleto panigurado.
Pupunta ako sa bahay ni Cheska pag malapit na yung
Kompleto.
bahay.
Pag may kailangan, punta lang tayo kay Cheska.
And the go bags should have, of course, the needs of our pets.
Oh, yes.
oh, they have their own
Iniisip
bag.
ko yun lagi.
May sarili.
May sariling bag.
May go bag ka na. Wala din.
For Booker.
Si Booker meron.
Si Booker meron.
May stroller si
Nakita ko na yung go bag ni
pati may
Booker.
go bag.
Backpack.
Tapos sige, dog food ang kainin mo.
Basta okay si Booker.
Alam mo, gagawin ko yun pag wala na talagang choice.
Yeah, di ba?
Oo, minsan pinapakain niya ako ng treats si Booker.
Choice mo yan, ha?
Or sabi mo, kainin mo.
Bawal magturo,
Tikman mo. Oh.
Ayan ka na naman, ha?
Bakit? Totoo lang
You
yun.
said you were gonna dress.
Yeah,
to the
asan
nines.
na?
Oo nga, hindi.
Necktie.
No. Dapat mag-necktie na ako today. Sige, Monday.
Baka ayaw na niya kasi ayaw niya isara yung
Hindi
butones.
na
Hindi, kasha.
I don't,
Pumapayat
I don't really care anymore.
Ay! Nagtampo. Papadala kita ng paso. Happy weekend again to the ladies of the Big Sorry. To Cess, love your hair. To Sean, love your dress. To Pauline, love you.
Bye na nga.
Yung katabi ko naiinis na. Naiinis
na, guys.
Okay. Ako wala akong weekend eh. Pero happy weekend to you girls. Great show as always. Great week. On our show, we've got the latest from the NBA offseason plus updates from the semifinals of the PBA Philippine Cup.
And we've got a Las Filipinas women in the semifinals of the VTV Cup.
I'm Andre Felix.
And I'm Cheska Calao.
And here's tonight's play-by-play.
Ramiro. The show by Mamoy Lee. Interval puts it off. Unbelievable. Gemma on the left side. Oh, the pass! The big number one. Bakunas rejecting